Matt, g'day. Thanks so much for taking the time to jump on the Rugby Bricks podcast.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Oh, good. And yeah, massive. Obviously, you were someone that I really looked up to as a player. Like, I think I'm 35. I'm pretty sure you're 41. So when I was going through academy and age grade, like you were right up there. I think I chucked on the headgear for the first time because of you and stuff like that. So it's awesome to be chatting. But Keen, what's the current state? I know you're over there in the US. Like, what are you up to currently this season?
Yeah, so we're got 3 rounds to go in the MLR comp. Then finals. Well, we've got 2 weeks break for the internationals. The American boys go play internationals for a couple of weeks, and then we've got the finals. So quarterfinal. Well, actually, your conference semi-final, then your conference final, and then the overall final. The two finalists from the conference meet together. So that's the plan. That's obviously everyone's goal that's going to be in the finals, but that's where we're at.
Yeah, and you've had a couple of seasons over there now, like loving US life. Like a lot of us that haven't been over there or lived over there, like loving it. Like, what do you love about living over there?
Yeah, I think the lifestyle is unbelievable. Like as far as the weather, yeah, your climate, just your ability to go to different sporting events and that over here. Once you get a break, like on the baseball, we went down. What's the Padres play? It could have been Monday. Even when we were in LA, you get a lot of basketball games. Went to the Super Bowl, so it's more just that the life experiences around rugby, and rugby is obviously the reason why I'm over here. So you still got to obviously worry about that first and foremost. But I just think the things in and around rugby and the activities that they've got going on here, it's just pretty cool.
And from your socials, like your family look like they're just having a blast as well. Like they're at massive games and NBA, dance cam and stuff like that. What, like you've been around sport your whole life. What do you reckon that the Americans do so well just around the event that maybe we could learn from?
Right, exactly what you just touched on there. I think you don't have to. I feel like you don't have to love baseball or basketball or the NFL to enjoy the event. Whereas I think for rugby at the moment, it's more for the purists. Unless you've got the big internationals like a Bledisloe or something like that, or a World Cup final, then that's for everyone. Everyone gets on board um, and supports it. But just for your day to day, say Super Rugby or um, even your normal internationals that you have, I think if you could just add a little bit more excitement around that, like if there's more in between breaks, there's music going up or there's something on the big screen while the scrum's repacking. I don't know, just creating more of a party vibe, which I think the rugby purists probably won't enjoy because they're there for the game, But I think to make rugby more global and a more enjoyable sport, like I love rugby, but I play it. But if you don't love rugby at the moment, probably sevens is your game because there's more of an atmosphere and vibe around it. I think that's probably where we could, especially for Super Rugby, create that more party vibe, around the game.
Yeah, but I actually went to Highlanders Crusaders here in Dunedin under the roof, and they're starting to do some cool stuff with what you're saying, light displays, like stuff happening at scrum time. Like, yeah, it's awesome. With the club footy, like it looks like a real unique experience. Like some of the grounds you play on, and obviously the changing rooms must be a bit bizarre, like because it's not like a rugby setup. What's that like?
Yeah, that's different. It even the artificial turf. There's half
Yeah.
our games aren't on grass. So for an older body, that's you pull
Ooh.
up a little sore and stiffer, and even just your grazes, your grass burns, all that type of stuff. So yeah, that's not ideal. I'd love them to all. I'd love it to be the MLR, you must play on grass. You know what I mean? Everyone to have a grass field. So I'm not sure how achievable that is, but that's probably the biggest adjustment. I think is just trying to find grass. Even for us, trying to find grass to train on consistently is a bit of a battle over here in California. But yeah, that's different. I mean, as far as the stadiums or your change rooms, yeah, it's not like back home, but it's a startup. Like I think the best advice I ever got was before I went to France was just to treat where you're going, treat that country, don't compare it back to Australia. Because otherwise, once you start comparing things, it's even in any walk of life, when you start making comparisons, you start feeling a bit more unhappy about things because it could have been better here or this is better over there. So I think you just treat the experiences for what it is, and that's kind of how I've approached ever since I went to France. And you actually then dive into the culture a little bit more. And it is what it is. It's just that's how it is over here. So we just got to adapt.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's always things that you can find to moan about or not be happy with or not as good
Oh, mate,
as, but
especially
yeah, you just got
me,
to find.
mate. I love a moan. I moan all the time. So that for me, it's a very good one for me.
And I suppose with the actual rugby itself and looking ahead to World Cups coming up, I know that they've got one coming up in the future. Like, what's the difference in the rugby itself? And then are you real confident in how things are looking in the US with how they're going to go, how the game's building? Like, are they going to be good to go?
Well, I mean, at the moment, they're obviously they didn't qualify for the World Cup for France, and I'm not sure the qualifiers have started for the Aussie World Cup. But obviously, having a home World Cup in 2031 automatically qualifies. But you don't want to be automatically
Mm.
in there and then getting flogged by 100 points in your home nation. So I think that they've still got a little way to go, and I think the more exposure they get to good players coming over here, especially at more of a younger or an earlier stage in their career, will only help their development. Because over here, you've got like a certain amount of foreigners that you have to have in your 23. It's the same as in Japan. You've
Yeah.
only littered with a couple of foreigners, and I think that's a good way to help them because at training you can pick them up on small things, but it's really you learn the most from your games and your mistakes. I think that so that's where as a foreigner coming over, your job isn't just to perform well. Your job is to help develop the players that you've got here and get as many players up to international standard. I still think they've got a little while to go, but the competition is getting harder. From when I first came over for LA to where it's at
Mm.
now, there are a lot more talented players, in this league. So hopefully it continues to grow and they become a force. And you're able to get these kids from a younger age. Because I find that anyone here with any talent, um, except for the Islander boys, they love their rugby. But anyone else that's got some talent, they'll have a crack at the NFL or basketball or baseball if you've got any talent, because that's where the big money is. At the moment, there's not a real lot of money in rugby over here. So I think for that to grow, and the players can get paid a little bit more where they don't have to do a side job or anything like that. That will help focus them on their rugby and fully, immerse themselves in the rugby program as a professional athlete.
Yeah, and Japan seems to be doing an awesome job of that with how they're getting guys into scholarships and universities, and getting the years done there, then bringing them into the national program, etc., etc. Well, as a ball player, like sometimes rugby can be a bit clunky in countries like the US or wherever. What's sort of the thing you're trying to help US players out with understanding the game? Like, what's sort of the clunkiness that you're feeling at the moment?
Well, I think it's more just understanding the picture. Like if you've got a 3-on-2, and then you're going to go into the line, and then they drop under you, and all of a sudden it's now a 2-on-2. It's like you just kind of take for granted potentially the picture that you can see that they see the same thing. So it's more about educating them and stopping that and saying, okay, look here on this opportunity, you hold your feet, I'll dig in, I'll attract the first, the second, last player, and then for you, just get an early catch, like make sure your catch is clean, and then you're able to distribute and put that next person away. Even depth, like a lot of them, especially a lot of wingers over here, I find are caught flat, because they feel like they're in that space and they can catch it and go. Whereas if you're actually deeper, for me, you can see the picture clearer because that space is like it's not cluttered with that winger there. It's actual space, so you can throw the ball to that space and they can then run onto it and hit it with speed. So it's just like small things, and it's not having a go at them. It's just educating them as you're going. You're saying, like, I know what you're thinking there. That was a really good line, but if you stayed here and did this or this, this is what would be the outcome. So it's more educating them, and then when they actually perform it in a game, reinforcing it and just saying, "You see exactly what you just did. That was perfect. We went away because you stayed there." Now they're starting to understand actually the picture more. So I think just the more you can put them in scenarios like that are game like, um, and then educate them, not let it go. I think you've got to pick them up as it's happening, straight away with your little micro communication or whatever else. Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest challenge is just them understanding the picture, not just doing what they're told, because especially the players that have come across from American football, they're told just one role and that's it, just do that. Whereas in rugby, it's a bit different. You got multiple caps that you need to be able to wear. So yeah, I think just educating them on that, and I mean they've got the talent, and the players over here, they've got the athletic ability, they've got the population, they've got all the ingredients to be a real rugby, powerhouse. I think just the next step is obviously the funding being one, getting to them at an earlier stage, so that when they're at an older age or an adult age, they understand the pictures even earlier. So I think that's probably one thing, and through video sessions, you've just got to take the time to review. Like for me, I'm very visual learner. So even with my goal kicking, you have a feel as a goal kicker. You know yourself. You have a feel if you've hit something poorly, if you didn't do it right. But when you see it, like for me mentally, I can then picture that the next time when I go to kick. So I'm more of a visual learner. So I try and if players you feel like aren't getting what you're saying, they're nodding, but they don't really understand, then you just try and sit down with them and show them through a video.
Yeah, it's hard when you get the nodders, eh? Like they're saying, yep, they're nodding their head, but they're just brushing over it, not
There
actually
you go.
getting
Yep,
it.
yep, 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 yep. And I'm like, okay, so you didn't get that. Yeah, no worries.
It sounds like you're really enjoying that craft of like building players and like coaching almost in detail. Like you see yourself one day getting into a bit of coach craft and coaching.
No, I don't think so. Not coaching. I don't have the patience. I mean, I do over
Yeah.
here, but I think if you talk to my wife, kids, or anyone that really knows me, they know I'm coaching is not for me. I think, but it is something I enjoy. Like I certainly do enjoy seeing development in players, especially younger players. Um, Something you worked on throughout the week and it really works for them. Is something that I get pleasure out of. The individual success isn't really what I've ever been in the game for. It's team success, and I think you're only as good as your weakest player. So I think it's just trying to get everyone on the same page, working together. But yeah, I do get a lot of enjoyment out of doing certain skills and helping out when I can, but not being overbearing. You don't want to be that guy that's always got
Mm.
the answers or always saying something. So I'll get to young tens and I'll just say, if there's anything you want to know, just ask me. I'm an open book, but I won't push anything on those younger players.
Love it, mate. The obviously Carter Gordon's been a big story that's came out this week. Probably keen to hear your thoughts on that. But also, you were an Aussie. There's NRLs all around you. Did you ever have an opportunity to have a crack in or any opposed sessions that you jumped in on?
We had one opposed session, 2016, when I came back for the Bledisloe series. We played against the Roosters, but we'd just flown in, myself and Drew Mitchell. So we got sat out for that session. Thank God. That was brutal. Like, yeah, league, you got a lot of respect for them. Just the way they can run those block lines, their late
Mm.
change, the way they really manipulate inside, outside shoulders, even from ball player point of view. Looking at pitches, you can learn so much off their game. While I think the games are completely different. There's similarities as far as you tackle, you kick, and you run, you score tries, but the actual game and game plan and understanding, what you're trying to achieve, I think they're two totally different sports. As far as contracts, I think it was like 2005 maybe. The West Tigers, reached out to my old man. They asked my dad, because my dad's background is rugby league. My family, we're
Mm.
leagueies. So to give you context, I was playing for Wallabies. Um, and then at the same time, my brother's playing like maybe second grade rugby league local, and mum will always serve him first. That's how much they
Yeah.
hold. They make sure that league in my family is a big sport. It's a sport I love to watch as well. But in
Yeah.
2005, West Tigers rang my dad, um, and he was acting like my agent when he wasn't. I think he's just trying to big note himself. Um, and then asked them for what the deal was, and they offered something to him. I actually don't even remember. I don't think the offer definitely didn't get to me. But Dad just told me that they reached out, and he said, "Mate, they weren't even close." I said, "Well, how do you know?" So but that was as close as I went. It was just like one offer. Dad knocked him back, and that was it.
Yeah, right. And I suppose like when you guys had that rooster session, like what was the benefit of it? What did you guys pick up from that? I know you didn't train in it, but
I
what did you
think around
see?
those blocking lines, the blocker
Mm.
lines, ball playing. Obviously, theirs is more especially once you control the ruck, it's just like counting off. So if you know you got 3 defenders, 4 attackers, then that's almost the picture that they're looking for. They're just looking for a mismatch, and they'll work to an edge where they feel they've got a strike.
Yeah.
Or you've also got centers that sit there, left and right centers. We had Willie Chambers when he came across to us in Suntory, and all he'd ever run was either that short line or sometimes he's out the back, and he could just catch and pass little short ones, but could not pass long because he'd never needed it in his game. So just trying to develop his skills there. He enjoyed the fact he could roam around. You're not just stuck to one side, like a left edge or right edge. So obviously in rugby, it's a bit more, it's a bit different. You've got to be able to pass off both hands, defensively be able to go, off both sides. But rugby league's definitely more brutal. It's more of a contact collision sport. But yeah, that would be the biggest things that we would have learned, just around their lines, how they're trying to manipulate the way they jog, and then speed up the last couple of steps to really attract a player, accelerating onto the ball, or even your running line, changing your line, jogging, but then change late with a bit of acceleration and intent, made the players, buy it in a little more. So there were small things that we learnt off them. And off the other side, like I found with Quade was our 10 for that one, and a lot of the leagueies usually and the open wingers would jam in naturally and take second last. As soon as we worked that out, it didn't matter what play we ran. As long as there was a bit of motion outside Quade, you could just throw the ball over into that space and we'd be away. I think we would have scored maybe 4 tries just off that one, because they were set scenarios, So, yeah, I mean, it was good. A couple of our boys got absolutely whacked. They wouldn't line up to play again. But, yeah, it was a good learning curve, and especially when you're not training, you can just watch and throw out a bit of shit. Hopefully that they smack the boys a little harder.
And the other thing too, like for some reason, like NRL and league feels like it's like go forward rugby, right? Like it's like fast breaks, and when you're making clean breaks, like it's always go forward. Defenders are often on islands and stuff. So that was my big learning when I've been in a couple of environments. It's just how quick the play is. So therefore, your front door, back doors make a lot more sense.
Well, I think it's also, when you look at it, you play the ball, it's almost like a line out for us every time.
Yeah.
Which is like the biggest space that you'd ever get to attack off, from us, from an attacking point of view. Whereas theirs, it's almost like your dummy half. Every time you once you get up at marker, they're the guys that can then defend you. So you've got to you rush for time. So I think that's probably the biggest adjustment for a leaguey coming across, is just getting used to that, getting used to the lines in your face a bit more, probably more numbers. And it's, I mean, you grind it out for 5 phases. If you're going nowhere, then you will kick, almost like, rugby, but it's a rugby league. But as soon as you get a quick ruck, it's almost like it's game on there. And I think that's where the leagueies really come into their own if they were to play rugby, is off that quick ruck speed.
Yeah, light it up, 100%. I do just have to ask probably the Eddie Jones question, like from a Kiwi to an Aussie.
Yeah.
And just with a bit of breathing space from it all now and a bit of reflection, I know you've spoken on this a lot, but I guess, is there anything that you can sort of sum out how all that went down, the process of that, now that you've had a bit of time to sort of look back on it all?
Well, there's not a real lot for me to process other than, I thought when the appointment came in, I thought it was a good appointment. I actually thought it was, well, initially I thought it's too close to the World Cup, to get rid of Dave Rennie, especially with all the injuries that he had. I thought he was actually unfair, unlucky to be done that way, with the injuries he had and the way the group felt and played for him. I thought it was a shame. However, if anyone is to come in and the board wants to move on Dave Rennie, I thought Eddie Jones was the perfect appointment to change things as quick as possible. Like, he's got a history of being able to do that. But yeah, it didn't turn out that way. He left a lot of experience out of the World Cup. Presumably, I thought maybe just to give these guys experience and get them ready for 2027. But then after that, he moves on. So, yeah, I mean, it was just a weird situation. I think Joe Schmidt coming in, I'm going to hold my enthusiasm back because I went a little early last time. But, I'm hoping big things there. I think he's his mindset and the way he's interviewed and talks around what he wants to bring to this group. He's not really over promising anything. He's not promising anything. He just said, "I'll sit back. We'll see how we go." Obviously you want to over deliver and under promise, and at the moment he's just staying, pretty quiet. And I think, hopefully he'll make a big difference for the group.
Yeah, he's anything I've had to do with Joe, it's been exactly that, right? Like he's almost taken a little bit of pressure off the playing group with what he's saying and how he's talking about the current setup. So I'm looking forward to them being able to actually just go play rugby without this big promise of we're going to be world class straight away and world beaters. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I suppose the reason I asked about the Eddie, you spoke. You've had a good relationship with him, and obviously he's coached you a lot and had some great stuff over the years. Do you still feel like he's still got it as a coach and still going to go all right with Japan?
Well, I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, his record, he is a good coach, and I've not been coached by him in a long time. But when I was coached, when he came in, it was exactly what I needed. He was quite hard on me. Even training lines, there'd be certain things I wouldn't even think twice about. And before we get on a plane, he'd sit down. He says, "Look here, see that line that you did there? See how you're running, dragging, dropping solo under? That's exactly what I want this weekend." And I didn't even think, it was just like, it just happened coincidentally when we were training. But then that was something in my mind that I was focusing on that I could add value, other than obviously, my role within the team. So it's just like those small details. I think he was really good for me, and he also kept me quite grounded because he was tough on me. At the time I was getting a lot of good press, and he made sure that I kept grounded. I think obviously I've got a really good supporter base with my family, who definitely keep me grounded. But from a rugby point of view, he was quite tough on me, and I felt like I needed that.
Mate, before we get into the goal kicking chat, you got the T-shirt on, kick off and kick
Mm.
ons. How are you enjoying the doing the podcast, and yeah, how are you enjoying that?
Yeah, I mean, it's good. You never realise that you could make a business out of talking shit, but we're just getting together. And it's good for me because even though the boys live 3 hours away, like when I'm in Canberra and they're in Sydney, you would see them once every 3 months, and it's almost like a forced catch up every week. Every week it's fun. Like once you
Yeah.
get there, even before you start recording, you just start talking rubbish with the boys, and it's just, yeah, it is good fun. I'm enjoying it. Learning a lot about it, obviously asking questions rather than getting asked questions all the time. So that side of things has been enjoyable. And the
Yeah.
players that we've had, because ours is quite a relaxed vibe, we don't really go through the X's and O's too much. We'll review things, and if we're asked something, then we'll give our opinion on the rugby point of view. But it's more just about, I think, just connecting and being relatable is probably our biggest thing. When we first started, or I spoke about it, we said we just want it to be like a pub. We're at the pub, and these people have access to what we're talking about. Um, rugby in Australia has this image where it's the leather patches, you've got your red wine,
Yeah.
and you all went to private schools. Whereas the people's sport, obviously AFL is a big sport in Australia, but the game for the common folk is rugby league. So I suppose it's just showing that rugby people are relatable. We're normal as well. Even though I think all three of us did go to a private school. No, see, maybe Koopy. I don't think Koopy did. But yeah, it's been good fun, mate. I've enjoyed it.
What did you said about there about asking questions? What sort of the skill you've learnt there? Like, what are you trying to do?
Well, I think just trying to make them feel comfortable first and foremost.
Mm.
Because I find the difference between a current player and a former player, like they're chalk and cheese. Once you get those players that are finished, they're way more open and relaxed, and they say what they want. Whereas a current player, and I would have been the same, you get interviewed, you're just straight down the barrel. You don't want to give any ammo. You don't want to relax or carry on, make people think that you're arrogant or whatever you are, even if you're not. So you just try and play it real stiff. So I think it's just making them feel comfortable. We brought in these Cosmo questions. The professor, the anchor of our one, they're 200 first date questions that you'd ask, and they're from the Cosmo magazine. And we've just gone through them and picked ridiculous ones, just to start off. We won't talk rugby from the start. We'll say, how you feeling? How's your body? Blah, blah, blah. I got a little question here about Cosmo or whatever. And automatically you're just getting a different side of it. Like for us, just trying to see the player, not really talk rugby, and, I suppose it just show a different side of that player as well, because most interviews are pretty stiff. They want to get what they want to get as far as rugby's related. Whereas if we go an hour, like whatever our podcast goes for, and we don't talk any rugby, so be it. Like we're not too fussed about it.
Mm. And I totally agree. But also, I really enjoy when you guys do talk craft and shop and decision making. It's like how we talked about NRL before around running lines and lead lines and unders and that sort of stuff. I reckon there's actually not too much of that sort of chat in rugby podcasts or shows or whatever. We try our best, but I reckon that stuff's awesome too. That details is what builds smarter fans and more engaged people. So yeah, you guys do a great job.
I appreciate it.
I'd love to talk some bit of kicking. In the
Yeah.
US, has a guy turned up with a bag of NFL balls and taken you for a kicking session? Have you had any crossover with those kickers?
No. I remember we interviewed Dan Carter pre-World Cup last year, and I think it was the Patriots maybe. He went and visited,
Oh,
and he tried out for
yeah.
him, and he was kicking with it. But then after, once it cut, I was like, mate, what was it like to kick with those? He said, mate, it's chalk and cheese, like not even close. Like you've got to learn almost a new skill. So, no, I haven't had the opportunity to kick an NFL ball. The hardest part over here for me with goal kicking and trying to get consistency and reps in is finding goalposts. Like everything around here, you've got your artificial fields, which also once you plant, you really stick. You don't slide as much as you would on grass. So it's almost like you stop and you cramped or you hit the ball. Like it's just not the same motion that you get on your grass fields. But also just find a post to try and kick at. It's that's probably been the biggest challenge.
Yeah. I probably want to ask you, like, what's your relationship with goal kicking been over the years? I was watching a video, and the video was titled "Matt Giteau cost Australia the match against Scotland." So
Oh yeah,
you've
I know that one.
you've clearly had some ups and downs, which every good goal kicker has. Like, what is your relationship with goal kicking?
Yeah, well, mate, I think actually that next week we played Wales. Our first kick from the halfway and kicked it over. But then my next two, it was always on that left-hand side. For whatever reason, in that two of the left-hand side I was struggling with. And I had two from the left-hand side, missed both those. So I was like, oh, here we go. We're back into it. But I suppose it's just having like a consistent process. As far as my relationship with goal kicking, like I love to kick.
Yeah,
I
awesome.
enjoy it. It's almost like golf, like I think obviously I'm more consistent with my kicking than I am with golf, but it's just that same kind of mental battle that you can go through sometimes. I think the biggest thing is just having a process and being pretty strict on that process and what you do. I feel like my style is a little different to other people, and we had a coach come in, could have been 2011, Brahm, South African kicking coach that Robbie Jeans was using. And he tried to change my style and have us all kicking the same way. And automatically I didn't like that just because I don't feel I don't feel comfortable doing that. And as a kicker, when you're setting up in your run up and you can see the ball and approach and you get that feel of confidence, like you're like, okay, I'm in my rhythm, I feel good. And he tried to change my technique too much and I just didn't enjoy it. But yeah, I think my relationship. Yeah, I mean, I love goal kicking. Obviously, it's a big pressure environment especially once you get to big matches. But I think the more reps you do, and the more consistent that you strike in the ball, especially during training. For me, I don't worry too much about the end result. It's more about my process, my connection with the ball, and actually my shape and how I felt with that. And more often than not, it'll go where you aim. But if it doesn't, say it's a windy day and you're kicking into the wind and you hit it and it doesn't go through the post, but you still feel fine with that connection, that's good enough for me. And I think that's just come through experience. The longer you're doing it, whereas when I'd first start out, I'm kicking in the breeze. I'm just going, what is going wrong here? I try and change things and move it around. And then by the time you get to the weekend, you've switched your routine up that much that you don't have that confidence and feel comfortable doing that. So I think that just comes with experience. And as I said, earlier, getting that footage recording and having that mental picture already in my head of a good strike and how I felt and how I looked through that is easier for me to then replicate it the next time once I've actually seen it. So I think visual cues for me are great as well.
And also, I'm sure you would have kicked as a young fella, and then when you start getting into professional environments and a shitload of eyeballs looking at you, like I reckon, I almost don't agree with just treat it like a practice pitch and just like you're down at the field by yourself, because it is a bit different. There's more people, there's
Yep.
pressure, there's refs, yeah. So, was there anyone that's helped with your mental game with goal kicking? But then also, how did you get better in big games, more eyeballs, more crowds?
Uh, well, I think that's you get your confidence throughout the week. For me, like your Monday to Friday, and then once you hit Saturday, it is what it is. Like you're kicking. What do you like? There's nothing else you can do other than believe in your process and believe in the reps that you've done. So you just, for me, it's just almost game day. Once you get there, it's just even with when you're about to play, you're just like, we're ready to go. Like, let's go. Like, same with goal kicking. Oh, here's a penalty. Sweet. I want to take this one. And you just feel
Yeah.
confident because you've done the work throughout the week.
Did you
I
have
like,
anything that you did in game that like a try scored? Now you've got the ball, you've got your tee. What was kind of that mental switch that you had to get into process thinking?
well, I like to play games. And even Eddie Jones, which I thought was a really good touch when I first came in the Wallabies, even though I wasn't the goal kicker, there was potential that I could be kicking. But he'd go, okay, penalty here, you're taking the shot. Berkey's gone off, mate. And then you've got all the boys around you in a training field, and you've got to make that kick. That's as big as pressure as you'll get. That's more than actually on the weekend, because you're
Yeah.
going to get shit straight away off the boys if you don't hit it. Whereas on the weekend, it's almost like it doesn't matter, next job mentality, unless it's the final kick of the game. So I liked that, making competitions, almost kicking with other kickers as well, putting something on the line that means something. So then you get those nerves and you're like, hey, I've got to settle, worry about my breathing. Breathing's big for me, I think. If I'm able to get my deep breaths in, shows how relaxed I am. And then you're just in your normal calm zone. It's when you're breathing quick that it's almost like, oh shit, like you just got to slow that down. So breathing is always been a big cue for mine. And then throughout the week, trying to get competitions in. But I really did like when Eddie Jones. I hated it when he did it, but I liked it because on the weekend it was the pressure was less. Even if that makes sense, because during the week, if you miss in front of the boys, especially in those sitters, where he'll say, penalty here, kick here, like you know you've got to make it. So I think those things, trying to replicate the game while it's not actually game time, helps you get used to the nerves and then be able to perform through them and just trust your process, I suppose.
Yeah. And the teams you've been in, you would have had some kicking sessions with some pretty quality players. I'm sure a few kicks with Johnny. And who are some of what is some of the stuff you picked up from Wilkinson, and then also other kickers like that you've worked with and kicked with?
Yeah, well, I mean, the biggest thing I learned from Johnny is he's a lunatic. Like that bloke,
Yeah.
he'll kick for hours. But there's a reason like even when I was part of the 2003 team, I was on the bench when he kicked that field goal with his right foot. Everyone was like, oh, that's jammy, that's lucky. But after playing with him, it would have been more lucky actually if he missed. He does that much work and it's just second nature for him. So that kind of helps that loss sit, well, a little better. But I think probably the one that I really liked with Johnny is you set the tee out 5 meters in front of the goalpost. And so you're in front of the goalpost, you've got the crossbar across there, 5 meters out, and you've just got to hit it. Go back, get your routine, you've got to hit it. It's always got to go under. So it just gets you in that mindset. And that's how I warm up. If you've got like a net and that behind. But that's how I'd warm up, just to stay through the ball and stay in the kick as long as possible. And if you're hitting that easy, move it back to 6 meters, go to 7 meters, like just getting used to hitting, until you find your range when you're actually going to hit over or you bang straight into the crossbar. But I always find that a really good warming up technique.
So if you're popping the ball and the ball's going high, what is that telling you?
Well, you're getting out of the kick quick, you're getting under it. You're not kicking through it. You're not staying long. Like you're just trying to stay engaged and make the kick last as long as possible. I think with if you're jamming them, it's almost like if you get there and it's chippy, you've probably not hit it with the right part, but you're also worried about the result too quick. So it's almost like you've hit it and then you head straight up like that. With Johnny, another good tip was he would always kick it, and then he wants to stay in the kick as long as possible and then he'll see it out the corner of his eye. Never see it with both eyes. So that is a good cue for him to stay in it, now catch it, and then you'll see it at the back end through that area. So it was almost, as a left footer, that's how we go. Whereas a right footer, obviously, he had quite a tight angle on his kicks as well. But yeah, there's just a couple of cues like that I've just learnt from him. The biggest one being that repetition, like it's like anything. There's so many talented people in the world, but it's not just that he's lucky and he's talented. Like he works hard at it. DC would be the same. Like these people are naturally gifted kickers, but the reason that they're world class, or looked at as one of the best ever to perform on the international stage, is just through repetition. Like it's not lucky. Like they're just you work hard, and it's a skill like anything else. Being able to pass consistently, hit your mark, do your basics well. Kicking's exactly the same. As you know.
Yeah. Any other coaches that stand out for you kicking coaching wise?
Benny Perkins. Benny Perkins was one that he was a kicking coach of John Eales and Elton Flatley very early on in Queensland. He would just call me the gunslinger. He thought the way that I did it was almost like a gunslinging motion, but he was just more on feel. He's like, deep breaths, feel your legs, kind of just, so you're shifting your mindset from the kick. I mean, looking at it now, but it's just like, feel your legs. Okay, feel your legs, like that's what you're focusing on, how your legs feeling. And deep breaths was his big one, and it just allowed me to not overthink a kick. I always know if I hit a bit of grass or you don't hit the ball as clean as possible, I'm probably thinking too much rather than just trusting the process and getting into the kick, if that makes sense. But so Benny Perkins was great. And we'd often start with even 30 metres out, just a couple of drop punts, just to get that ball going through, just loosening up your legs and letting your legs take over. That was a big one for him. Let your legs take over, Dynamite. He used to call me Dynamite. And then when you get it, there you go, the gunslinger. But he was good because he wasn't so technical. It was just all on feel. So that was probably the best that I was ever hitting him, probably 2004 on the end of season tour. I think when we lost Elton Flatley and I was goal kicking a lot, I was hitting the ball pretty sweetly then.
What's that that thing when you're at the back of your approach, you're on quite a body angle, like you sort of turned in a little bit, almost closed off to the ball. What's that about?
Closed off the ball, you mean as in like this right shoulder would be more open and to the sideline? It's just for me that angle. I find like it's how I've always kicked, on like a sharper angle, and it's just being able, I don't know, I just feel comfortable there. Whereas if you try and straighten me up like Brahm did, try to get me straight, approaching the ball almost like a drop punt, I don't know, I just don't feel, I feel like I'm just not hitting it the same way. I really like to come on a bit of a tighter angle, but it's also my finishing point won't be straight through at the goalpost. I know if I stay committed and gone through it, I may skip. So if I'm facing this way for the post, and that's where normally most kickers will finish up, I'll finish a little bit over here because that's where my angle is, but I still stay true in the ball. And then the lean is just almost just so that I don't sit back on the ball, because I had a tendency at times to lean back and try and guide it through, almost like a soccer kick, where you're leaning back on your heels a bit more and you're just touching the ball through, which would often give it a bit of a tail because you're not staying through the ball. That was my biggest thing about leaning forward and keeping it's almost like you got to build that momentum, as and make sure that if you're leaning forward rather than just stop, and then you try and kick it really quick, you're just using your hip power and you never hit it sweetly. Roughly, I mean, there may be one every three that you'll hit sweetly or how you want it, but I don't think it's as consistent as, once you're trying to build your run up and get a bit of momentum into the ball.
Yeah. And what I love about that answer is you've tried things, you've felt things out, you know your reason why I do things this way. I tried that and that had this effect. Like that experiment is what I really encourage kickers to get to, is I can ask a question about your ball setup, your approach, what you're doing and your follow through, and you can have a good answer because of all the experimenting. I love that stuff. What was going on with the kicking tee, the cone, the field cone with the medical tape strapped on, kicking tee on the top? What's going on with that tee?
Oh, way back, yeah. Well, I had a lot of groin trouble at the time. So the one that I had before was too low. but I liked the way that I could position the ball on that tee. So that's where I used to put the cone there just to give me a little bit more height, so I didn't have to dip down and put as much stress on my groin. I think that was more. It would also give me a little bit more distance too. So it
True.
was just that, and then you experiment, try different tees. Now I found I think it's called the Wolf. Is that the one
Yeah.
with rugby
Yeah.
bricks? There, the Wolf, the name of it, and that one's at a really nice height for me, and I feel like I get consistency. I'm able to lean it however I choose on that tee, and it grips and sits well. So yeah, my one it's just more to take the stress off the groin once I lifted the height around that time.
Yeah. Outstanding. Cool, mate. And just to wrap up, we've sort of got motto out, work, out, learn. Um, can you think of a time in your career where you were just said, I'm obsessed, like rugby is everything. This is all I'm doing? Because I'm sure you've worked hard your whole career, but was there a time where you're like, nah, this is all I'm doing?
Oh man, mine was a lucky one as far as like I was playing my local Colts for just the local Canberra league, and I got picked in the Brumbies Academy. And at the time, sevens was a pathway for Super Rugby. So if someone was maybe thinking about signing you, you'd go to the sevens program,
Right.
um, and then you'd be in that sevens program. You get to experience, you travel around. Anyway, I was lucky enough to get picked in a sevens team. Me and Aaron McGuinness was another guy, from Canberra that got picked, and we had a training session in Sydney. And at the time, Eddie Jones had just gone to taken over from Rob McQueen as the Wallabies coach, and he's getting around to all the provinces as Eddie does. He does that quite well. Under 20s, you go see the girls team. Anyway, he came to the sevens, and for whatever reason, I can't remember what happened, but he was like, "I really like that kid." He told Glenn Eller, who was our manager at the time. Glenn Eller told me, he said, "You might make the Wallabies in this year." It's like, what? So I don't even have a Super Rugby, like even academy contract. So it was just like, I couldn't
Wow.
really believe that by the end of the year, I got picked on the tour. So I didn't even have a chance to focus on rugby, really. Like I was enjoying sevens. Sevens is a bit of fun, but before that, I'm playing club with my mates, and then I'm serving behind a bar, you know, um, while I'm still studying at university. So I didn't really have a chance to focus on rugby until I was thrown in that Wallaby environment. When I came back, I got a Super Rugby contract, and then it was like, well, I can really make a fist of this. And I wasn't that I became obsessed, but I just didn't want to let anyone down. That fear of failure and all that. That's kind of what drove me early on, just trying to. And I was surrounded by legends. Like when I came into that
Mm,
Brumbies team, like you didn't want to let
nice.
anyone down. And then I think from there, I just learned good habits, about work ethic, looking after your body. That's something that I've always held on to. I just feel like, if you can work hard, sure enough, you're going to get lucky. It's not really luck. You make your own luck, but you've just got to, for me, stay committed. And yeah, I just think continue never to be satisfied with where you're at. Even now, I'm still trying to learn each day, trying to add different skills, trying to test myself to be better. It's just kind of more habitual now. I met so many
Yeah.
players throughout my career that I thought were better players and more talented. Um, and you run into those guys always at the pub. See that guy over there? Yeah, he could have been better than Ricky Stewart. I've heard that in the pub. Said, but he just didn't get his opportunities. I was like, well, I
Yeah.
think Ricky probably, if he got his opportunity, would have worked hard, and that's what he made the most of it. So I think that yes, you do need luck. Like I was very lucky to get my opportunity, but then off the back of that, you make your own luck just by working hard um, and continually trying to get better for your teammates and for yourself.
Mate, was there anything that happened with your tackling over your career? Because shit, you used to love tackling and make some tackles in your career. Like I think sometimes, especially we've had this awesome goal kicking chat. Tens, fly halves. Like it isn't often a strength in a lot of players' game is their tackling game. Was there any time that you put into your career that you really knuckled down on that?
I had to. No, I had to. I was probably one of the first small centres. Before,
Yeah,
when I was coming in, they're all big centres. Your 12 and 13 were your big carriers. Eddie was the first one of the first, I think, to bring in a smaller 12 and have another distributor there. So I just knew
true.
each week, 2,000%, the game plan's going to be get at this little midget here. We just have to get at him. So I just knew that was going to happen, and it definitely would have been the game plan. So I would have done the same. Even now you look at you like, sweet, we just get at this guy. So I
So
just knew
so what did
defensively I had.
yeah, what did you actually do in a week to sort that out?
Well, in a week, I just studied the players I was up against. You just keep looking at their footage. Okay, when they're under pressure, what happens? They step here. Okay, if they've got a bit more time, what's the foot they like to step off? I just took a lot of chance out just because I couldn't rely on that chance or being lucky enough to, late tracking and get that. So I used to do a lot of tracking. Um, Obviously, once you see them get the pressure and the line speeds up, like I still remember even Ma'a, that 215 World Cup, off the left, he used to always like to hit and spin if there's a bit of pressure on. Whereas if you're passing to his right, he's got that deadly right foot step, which
Yeah.
I got knocked out maybe 25 minutes into the World Cup final, so I was on the sideline. So when I saw Scux go through, bang, bang off his right foot, I'm going, like, I may not have stopped him, but I could have been in his way. He might have trampled over me
Yeah.
and kept going, but it's just like, so they're just little things that I'd always prepare myself for. I just took luck out of it because I couldn't rely on like being smaller because I'm already giving away 20 kilos generally every weekend to the
Yeah.
opposition. So I just knew in attack, I always had confidence in myself, to be able to, if you get hit, you get hit. Like it is what it is, but it's just defensively, it was just something that I put a lot of work in. I didn't enjoy it, but it's part of the game. Like if I wanted to keep playing, I couldn't be that weak link in the back line. So I just knew that I had to defend well.
Yeah. Mate, rock solid answer, and taking chance out of it, setting yourself up for success. Like, sounds like you really attacked your game, whether it was goal kicking, tackling, your passing skill set, your fitness. You just attacked it and set yourself up for success. So, magic answers. We'll leave